Hello, beautiful people. Today is 15th of May. My name is Sahil, and welcome to Newspaper Analysis. Friends, you might be knowing Amartya Sen, the Nobel Prize laureate and the writer of famous book Idea of Justice. Now, guys, Amartya Sen says progress is more plausibly judged by the reduction of deprivation than by the further enrichment of the opulent. So, guys, prosperity is not making quite a few rich and more prosperous. Rather, it is about bringing the basic improvement into the basic necessities of life of the masses. Now, friends, when I talk about the reduction of deprivation, then there are various deprivations such as a psychological deprivation where the dignified life is not being given to the people. There is the physical deprivation such as not having shelter, food, clothing. Then there are the social deprivations when a person is not given his due place into the societies. Likely there are political deprivations also. So when there will be reduction in all these deprivations, only then a meaningful development will be gained. Now guys, you can use this particular quote in your GS paper number 2 in the questions of inequality, as well as into the GS paper number 4, that is ethics. Now guys, let's start with today's analysis. Friends, this is the page number 1 of the Hindu newspaper, and the first news item that we can see here is the second round of stimulus that has been announced by the finance minister yesterday. Now, guys, here with this particular article, I had clubbed one more news item from page number 8 and one of the editorial provided onto the page number 6. First of all, friends, we will discuss this entire package very much holistically because it is important for your mains exam, as well as I will give you certain concepts throughout this package which will be highly important for your prelims exam also. So it is not only about the coverage of this particular package, but various concepts also will see. Now friends, to understand this entire reform in a better way, we will first of all see that who are the intended beneficiaries. So the beneficiaries will be the poor, the migrant and the farmers, and what type of needs have been covered. So guys, food needs, credit needs, housing needs and employment needs have been covered. So four needs and three type of people. Now friends, first of all, coming to the food needs. Now guys, in our country, food is provided as a matter of right, and that right has been given by the National Food Security Act of 2013. Now guys, under this particular act, 75% into the rural areas, 50% into the urban areas, and in total 66% people of the country are given the right to food. Now friends, under the act, all the people are classified as either the Antyodaya Aniyojana families or the priority household families. Now guys, Antyodaya Aniyojana are the most vulnerable one. They are the ones which need the most care. So guys, to these type of families, we give 35 kg of food per family. However, others are called as priority household, and here the entitlements are not on the basis of family, rather, here there are individual entitlements, that is 5 kg per person. Now, guys, these people can access the highly subsidized food grains at the rate of rupees 3, 2, and 1. 3 rupees for rice, 2 rupees for wheat, and 1 rupees for coarse grains. Now, first of all, on 27th of March, government came with out with Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Yojana, in which it was said that all the people who are getting the food under the National Food Security Act, they will get additional 5 kg of food grains. But guys, there was one problem into this particular thing, that what about the people who don't have any ration cards? Because under the National Food Security Act, only those people will get the food who have the ration card. Second problem was that what about the people who have ration cards but their ration card belong to some other state? For example, they have ration card in UP, but right now they are struck into Haryana. What about them? Nothing was done. So guys, now what has been done? Friends, first of all, people who are not the beneficiaries of the National Food Security Act. Now, government has estimated that there are nearly 8 crore people who are lodged either into the government facilities or into the shelter homes run by NGO or private people. So, all these people, as they are not covered, they will be provided the 5 kg entitlement of food per individual for next 2 months. Moreover, guys, they will also be given 1 kg of chana per family. Though this is for per family for the next 2 months. So, guys, in this particular direction, the people who are not covered under the National Food Security Act will also be given the subsidized food grains. Secondly, there are the people who have the ration cards, but their ration card belong to other state. So right now they will get food under this because from the government facilities they can eat. Secondly, government has decided that the one nation one ration card scheme will be fully implemented by the 31st March 2021. Now, guys, under one nation one ration card scheme, if you have ration card of any one state, you can simply get the food from other state also. Guys, what is the problem into this particular plan is that we need to fully computerize the fair price shops from where you get the ration cards. We need to provide them with the e-terminal so that they can verify your ration card, but this particular thing has not been completed. So in now into the time man bound manner, this thing will be done. Now, guys, the second is the credit needs. Now, first of all, interest subvention scheme has been announced. Now, guys, what exactly here is that now government of India runs the Pradhan Mantri Mudra Yojana. Now, guys, under this particular scheme, loans up to 10 lakh are provided to the non corporate and non farm small and micro enterprises. Please keep it into your mind, very important for prelims. Now, friends, these loans of up to 10 lakh rupees are divided into three categories. They are the Shishu loans, Kishore loans, and Tarun loans. Shishu are up to 50,000, Kishore are from 50,000 to 5 lakh, and Tarun are from 5 lakh to 10 lakh. So, guys, this Shishu category of loans, on them, whatever interest needs to be paid, in that particular thing 2% of interest subsidy or interest subvention has to be is given for next 12 months. Suppose if you were paying the interest rate of 10%, now you only need to pay 8%, whereas government of India will pay the remaining 2%. So this is the entire thing which has been done under the interest subvention. Guys, into the paper just interest subvention has been mentioned, but this is the entire mechanism. Please understand very properly. Then, guys, after the credit need of the micro and small enterprises, the street vendors have also been decided that they will be providing the working capital credit. Working capital credit is the money you need for your day to day affairs. For that thing, loan up to 10,000 rupees will be provided to the 50 lakh street vendors. Now, friends, after the street vendors, the relief of credit will also be given to the farmers. So now, guys, 2.5 crore farmers will be given the concessional loans. Now, question number one, who are these farmers? Which 2.5 crore farmers? So, friends, government of India runs a scheme called as PM Kisan. Now, first of all, this PM Kisan scheme is the central sector scheme. It means that the 100% money for the PM Kisan is given by the central government. Now, guys, under PM Kisan, 6,000 rupees income support is given to the farmer every year. Now, guys, the beneficiaries of PM Kisan will be given these concessional loans, and these loans will be provided by the Kisan Credit Card. And friends, just keep it into your mind that the fishermen as well as farmers into the animal husbandry will also be included in it, not covered by many newspapers. Now, coming to the vertical of housing, government has decided to start the affordable rental housing complex scheme, and it is not new but it will be run under the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana. So now, guys, the migrant and the poor people, they always have the problem of living because rent are very high. So therefore, these affordable rental housing complexes, now these complexes will be built by three models. First of all, under the model of PPP, private public partnership, government will be involving the private sector. Secondly, they will be made entirely by the state government and other agencies. Thirdly, government will incentivize the private manufacturing units, industries, and associations so that they make affordable rental housing complexes into their compound. Some incentives will be given. Now, guys, fourth vertical is of employment. Now, employment will be provided by using the Campa funds. Now, guys, what is this Campa? Campa stands for the Compensatory Afforestation Management and Planning Authority, and this particular body was constituted under the Compensatory Afforestation Fund Act 2016. Now, guys, this particular act says that whosoever is using the forest land, he needs to give certain monetary compensation, and this money will go to this particular organization, and this organization will take up the afforestation activities into the regions. Now, guys, this particular organization, that is Kempa, is having a huge funds. Now, the funds up to the tune of rupees 6000 crore rupees will be released by Kempa, and by using this fund, the employment will be generated for the afforestation activities, and these job opportunities will be for the tribal and the Adivasi people. And secondly, into the employment, MG Narega work sites have been opened so that people into the rural areas can get the employment. Now, guys, under MG Narega, guaranteed 100 days employment for the unskilled kind of work is given. Now, friends, this is the entire reform package. And if we see what are the shortcomings here, then, guys, first of all, as we had seen that the people are being provided the additional food entitlements, so there are certain problems. First of all, why the food has only been provided for the migrants who have been stranded into the government facilities, why not for everybody? Secondly, when we are talking about MG Narega, so, guys, under there is 100 days limit, so this limit should be removed, and to everybody for any number of days it should be provided. These are the views provided into the editorial also. So, guys, this was the entire holistic coverage, and now we'll move to the next. Now, friends, here's one more news item on page number 1, which is talking about two important concepts, that is e-office and work from home. Now, guys, what has happened here? The Department of Personnel and Training, that is DOPT, had floated a white paper in which they are saying that work from home should be considered as a part of e-office project under the various ministries. Now, first of all, as a present crisis is unfolding, work from home has become an integral part of the work ecosystem, and companies as well as the public authorities are opting for this particular mechanism, as it is a viable option to observe the norm of social distancing. And as the part of same thing, government wants that the eligible staff should be given at least 15 days of work from home in at least 1 year. Guys, in order to understand the present issue more effectively, we will go to 2006. Now, guys, in 2006, government came out with the National E-Governance Plan. Now, under this National E-Governance Plan, it was decided that the majority of governance and government activities will be taken over on the internet as well as in electronic form. Now, friends, this NEGP was the brainchild of the Department of Electronics and Information Technology, and was to be implemented by the Department of Administrative Reforms and Public Grievances. Now, first of all, guys, remember both these agencies, and as I told you that it is an e-governance project, then the technological support or the technological partner was the National Informatics Commission. So these three people are involved here. Now, guys, as a part of this NEGP, government started with the e-office project. E-office means that the handling of files, documents, etc. should be paperless into the government ministries as well as departments. And as of now, a large number of departments and ministries have adopted this e-office project successfully. Now, guys, as the present crisis is going on, now government has decided that this e-office project should be expanded, and the facilities such as work from home should also be included as a part of e-office, and at their home only the employees should be provided with the facilities such as laptops, desktops, as well as the internet, and they should work from home. However, there is a problem that how the confidential files and the confidential documents will be handled. For that particular thing, the NIC is also working that what could be done. And soon, in this particular direction, to handle the confidential documents, a standard operating procedure will also be issued. However, into the present mechanism, all the classified and confidential information is processed at the standalone computers into the central secretariat. So, guys, this entire move is very important with respect to your exam, because there could be a thing that how the crisis had changed the governance. So, on that line, this particular example becomes important. This was all. Now, we'll move to the next. Now, friends, here's a news item on page number 2, where the Delhi University has decided to hold the open book online examination. Now, friends, we don't need to see that for which semester the exams are being held, but for our concern, we will see the concept of the open book examination. Now, first of all, what do we mean by open book exam is that a student will sit into the examination hall and he will be free to refer to any of the material which he wants. He can carry the book, he can carry his notes, or he can carry his the entire material. And into the question paper, the questions will be designed in such a way that by referring the notes he need to answer. Now, friends, this is a novel initiative, because here the person's analytical skills as well as problem solving capabilities can be tested. Now, friends, in India, there is a problem that the students are the problem muggers and not the problem solvers. They simply believe into the rote learning and crude memorization of facts, and into the competitive environment which is coming, they are not fit to be into that particular ecosystem. So many a times the open book examination was suggested, but it has also been opposed. Why? Because it is said that it will promote a kind of a casual relation between the student and the teachers, and they will not take the problems seriously. Moreover, it was also said that the students will simply copy and paste the information from the books and will pass the examination. However, all these are the apprehensions which can be dealt in effective manner. Guys, with respect to the copy and paste, the question paper should be designed in such a way that it should test how the analytical skills are being given, and on the basis of that analytical skills, the grades should also be given to the students. And now, guys, when we are talking about the open book examination, then it is not the first time that the Delhi University has proposed. Rather, into the Gujarat as well as Karnataka, experiments for the middle level education has been taken to see how open book examination could be carried. But now the time has come that out of a necessity of a social distancing, we can bring the mechanism of e-exam, where we can allow the open book exam also. However, we need radical overhauling of the system, whereas not only students but the analytical skills of the teachers are also needed to be taken care of. So, guys, this was all attachment from my side which you can refer to whenever a question on open book exam comes. So, guys, this was all about this. Now we'll move to the next. Now, friends, on the page number 5, two animal species have been mentioned, that is Asian palm civet and the leopard. Now, guys, as the lockdown is proceeding, there is the retreat for the animals, and now they are venturing into the human habitations. And, guys, it can also lead to the problems of man animal conflict, which also happens to be the major reason for the wildlife mortality. So in Hyderabad, Asian palm civet and leopard has intruded into the human settlements. Now, guys, if we talk about their IUCN status, then on IUCN red list, Asian palm civet has been given the status of least concerned, whereas leopard has been given the status of vulnerable. Guys, please remember their IUCN status, as they are very important species, and the question on species has repeatedly been asked into the UPSC prelims. Now we'll move to the next. Now, friends, we are into the editorial section, and the first editorial talks as how the recent labor changes are going towards the laissez-faire system of society. Now, guys, first of all, laissez-faire means leave us alone, and this was the philosophy of classic capitalism. Now, friends, when the Industrial Revolution started in England, a distinct class of capitalists came in existence who had the motive of profit maximization. And these capitalists started saying that they are actually the ones who are bringing the change into the state as well as a society. And so that they can bring the effective change into the state as well as society, they should be left alone and government should not interfere with their decisions, and thus the laissez-faire concept of society began. Now, in this laissez-faire system of society, though capitalist class earned a huge profit, but workers became very much vulnerable and they became helpless. Now, guys, when the colonial masters, that is Britishers, came to India, they also brought this laissez-faire system and gave capitalists huge powers. For example, Bengal Revolution of 1819 came, in which the British tea planters were given extreme rights. Moreover, Transport of Native Laborers Act even gave the power to the employers that they can imprison the laborers if they don't obey the employers dictats. So guys, in such direction we can say that laissez-faire system though came, but it led to the deterioration of the rights of laborers. Now it is being said that what is happening into the present context, the UP government, MP government, Punjab government are bypassing the labor laws, and it could be an indication of the return to the laissez-faire system. Now, friends, if we consider the step by step chronology, then first of all, the Disaster Management Act 2005 was used to restrict the movement of the laborers and they were prevented in going back to their homes. And now they are being forced to work into the industrial units, and their protection under the Factories Act, Trade Union Act, Minimum Wage Act, Maternity Benefit Act, etc., have been taken back. And guys, the same time of phenomena was going on due to the colonial times also. Therefore, the author had made a comparison. Now, guys, if we see the history of labor rights, then for the first time, Factory Act of 1911 was passed, which gave some considerable rights to the workers. However, still the complete rights were not given, and the labor struggles continued throughout the 1920s and 30s. And finally, the Royal Commission on Labor was appointed, and it gave its report into the Government of India Act 1935. But nothing concrete came out of that also. And finally, after the 1947, we received independence, and various labor protection were given into the form of Factories Act 1948, Industrial Disputes Act. Moreover, into the DPSPs, certain obligation onto the state was kept that it should work for the labor welfare. Moreover, guys, under Article number 21 and 23, that is the fundamental rights, certain rights to the labor was finally given. Now, guys, as we are talking about the labor changes that are coming, these changes are being brought by two particular provisions importantly. First is the Industrial Employment Standing Order Act of 1946, and the other is the section number 5 of the Factories Act of 1948. Now, guys, with respect to the Industrial Employment Standing Order, Supreme Court already held into the Glaxo Lab case that such things should not be employed, as now the days of laissez-faire society has been over, and if these type of things are done, then it is not good for the laborers. Moreover, when we talk about the section 5, then this provision can only be used when there is the public emergency and the security of the nation is threatened. But right now, using this, it doesn't make any sense. Moreover, friends, after all these things, if we talk about labor, then it is into the concurrent list, which means that both the center as well as states have the right. Now, guys, various type of protection to the laborers have been provided by the central laws, and now as the state government is nullifying all the protection given to the laborers, then it is venturing into the area of the central government also. Therefore, this particular thing is unconstitutional. And guys, on the top of it comes the Supreme Court judgment of LIC case of 1980. Here, Supreme Court held that any change into the service condition can be done only after the democratic process of negotiation or legislation, but nothing has been done here. Now, guys, all the changes by the state governments are unconstitutional and also unjust because it is taking away the humane condition of work from the laborers. So, friends, this editorial talks about all these issues, and by using the crisis as an excuse, these things should not be done. So, this was all. Now, we'll move to the next. Now, guys, this editorial talks about the fiscal federalism between the center and state. Now, guys, into the times of crisis, the need of finance is of very much importance. But now, as the states have been challenged with unprecedented response, they don't have any sources for the finance. Therefore, state into the present times are forced to open the alcohol and the liquor shops. Though people have shown disapproval in this particular move, and guys, according to a huge survey done into the Tamil Nadu, nearly 89% people are not happy with the move to open the alcohol shops, and even into the Maharashtra there have been protests. But why the states are resorting to this particular strategy? The reason is the introduction of the GST, which was promised to bring the tax buoyancy in India and to simplify the tax structure, but had also brought the unintended consequences of thus for the state's finances. And now states are left on to the complete mercy of the center for their funds. Now, friends, if we see how the states raise their revenue, then guys, there are two major ways. One, their indirect taxes, and second, they receive money from the transfer of tax revenue by the center. Guys, center is also raising a lot of taxes, and some part is given to the state government. And now, how much is to be given? That thing is told by the Finance Commission of India, which is constituted under Article number 280. Now, the 15th Finance Commission has submitted the report. Now, guys, what happened when the GST came? GST took the power from the states with respect to their indirect taxes, and then such power was given to the center. Though, friends, for certain items, indirect taxation power was not given to the center and they are still with the state government. These things are the excise duty on liquor. Secondly, it is the VAT on the petroleum products. It is the registration duty onto the vehicles such as car and certain other items. Now I will be coming on this particular issue later words. So guys, the indirect taxes, some remain to the state and the majority of them went to the center. And guys, now if we talk about the rich states such as Maharashtra, Haryana, Gujarat, then these indirect taxes amount to nearly 70% of the revenue of the state. And now, as substantial of them has gone to the center, the hands of the state government are very much tied. Now, guys, as the part of the GST agreement, it was decided that the center government will give reimburse the state government with respect to their share of revenues. And at the same time, one more promise was made that they will also be given some guaranteed increment into their collection of revenues, and for the 5 years 14% increment was to be given. So guys, two promises by the center that they will give to the state their collection which they were doing. Secondly, they will also give some increment. Now guys, what has happened? As the crisis is unfolding, center government is shying repeatedly and is not making the GST transfer to the states which it was bound to do. So in this direction, the state government have lost their revenue. Secondly, when the power of the indirect taxes was with the state government has one more thing, that whenever they want to raise the percentage of tax, they can do that thing, and into the crisis that thing could have come very much handy. But now, as they don't have power to with respect to indirect taxes, they can't raise the taxes also. And after that, I told you that there are certain things where the state still have the power, but we'll consider them one by one. First of all, excise duty on liquor. Because the shops are closed, nothing is coming from the liquor here. Secondly, if we consider the VAT from the petroleum products, then also some nothing is coming from here because the movement of vehicles is not there. And thirdly, if we talk about the registration tax on the vehicles, it is also not coming because nobody is buying the vehicles. So guys, here you can see that the state governments are sacrificing. First of all, they are completely dependent onto the center, due to which there is a problem. Secondly, they can't raise additional revenue, there is a problem. And thirdly, their own share of indirect taxes is not yielding anything. Now the center state governments, if they want to raise the borrowings, they can't also do the borrowing because they don't have any source of the revenue from which they will pay back. So, guys, this entire move is against the fiscal federalism. And as the state government gave their power with respect to the taxation to the center, now the promise might not being kept properly, which is bad for the center and state relations. Earlier, if the states would not have sacrificed, they would have a large number of possibilities, but now they don't have possibilities. So, center government should come with the active aid. Guys, this particular topic can also be usable for your GS paper number 3 with respect to the finances. Now, we'll move to the next item. Now, guys, here a particular testing kit has been mentioned which might be delayed because more number of confirmatory tests are now required. Now, first of all, mentioning about the diagnostic kit, it was called as Chitra Gene Lamp N and was being developed by Sri Chitra Trinal Institute of Medical Sciences and Technology, Tiruvananthapuram. Now, guys, this particular institute is being funded by the Department of Science and Technology, and under its auspices, it is developing the kit. Moreover, friends, this particular kit has also received the approval from the National Institute of Virology, Al-Puza. Guys, not NIV Pune, Al-Puza. However, it is mandated by the NIV Pune to give such kind of. Now, guys, exactly what is the test? Presently, to ascertain the COVID 19, RT-PCR test is conducted, which is called as Rapid Reverse Transcription Polymerase Chain Reaction Test. Guys, if you know, then SARS-CoV-2 virus, which causes the COVID 19, is a kind of an RNA virus. Now, into this particular RT-PCR test, what is done? First of all, this RNA is converted into the DNA, and then particular strands of viruses are identified, and then those particular strands are multiplied into the millions and billions of copies to make assertion that whether it is the COVID-19 or not. Now, guys, primers and probes are also used to identify whether it is SARS-CoV-2 or other virus. So this entire process is followed into the RT-PCR. Now, guys, with respect to detailed working of RT-PCR, I have made a video on 5th of April. There, I had discussed the entire mechanism of RT-PCR from the science and tech angle. If you want for your exam, you can refer the 5th of April newspaper. Now, friends, the test which has been developed is called as Chitra Gene Lamp N test, as I have told you. Now, it uses a new technology which is called as reverse transcriptase loop mediated amplification test, and it could be abbreviated as it as RT lamp. Now, guys, what happens? This particular test zooms the virus and try to identify a specific batch of gene. Here, N type of gene is looked for. Though in this direction, WHO recommends that E and RDRP genes should be identified, but US CDC recommends that N gene should be identified because it gives more kind of a confirmation. So, guys, the Chitra gene lamp will be identifying N type of gene. Moreover, identification of N gene is also done into the China and Germany. However, all the three genes could be identified for the testing of COVID 19. Moreover, guys, in this direction, RNA extraction machine, probes, primers, everything could be procured in India. And for this particular things, we don't need to depend on imports, and our testing capabilities will be further augmented. So, guys, this was all about this article. Now we'll move to the next article. Now, guys, here's a news item where Gilgit Baltistan and a particular dam has been mentioned. We'll see that for the prelims. Now, guys, going into that, recently a standoff between the India and Chinese army happened in the Sikkim. Now, guys, India had said that the standoff is not related to the global events and it was just a kind of a scuffle which does not have any diplomatic connections. Moreover, guys, India had also talked or reminded China about a particular project that is being sponsored by the China into the region of Pakistan occupied Kashmir. Now, guys, Pakistan occupied Kashmir is into the region of Gilgit Baltistan. And as the region is disputed, India does not approve any construction activity into this particular region. But guys, into the Gilgit Baltistan or the Pakistan occupied Kashmir, China helps Pakistan with respect to the construction activities. Now, guys, first of all, China Pakistan economic corridor passes from the POK and as well as from the Gilgit Baltistan region. India is apprehensive of this particular thing. Secondly, here one dam is being constructed with the help of China, that is Daimler Basha Dam. Now, guys, this Daimler Basha Dam is over the Indus River and will provide the electricity to the region into the Pakistan occupied Kashmir. And India says that this particular thing is not approvable. So, guys, please remember the name of a dam and the river on which it has been constructed. Now, guys, apart from this, there is no diplomatic angle. So, please don't go much deeper than this. Now, guys, this all about the today's newspaper discussion. I hope you are liking our video. Thank you so much.